You have seen the hut. It stands in the open field, turning on its chicken legs. 3 horsemen ride past the fence of bones, one in white, one in red, one in black. Above the gate, skulls are hung so their eye sockets throw light like lanterns. Baba Yaga is inside. Or she is one of 3 sisters of the same name, all of whom answer Baba Yaga the bony-legged when you knock. Alexander Afanasyev's 19th century index lists them as one figure. The tale treats them as 3. In one story, she eats the children who lose their way in the forest. In another, Vasilisa the Beautiful, she gives the heroine the fire she needs to bring home. In a third, she tests the hero and tells him which sister will know the answer. Slavic tales kept all of it. The scholarship has been arguing since the 1800s about which version is the real one. The honest answer is not hiding. Start with the word itself. Baba means old woman. In contemporary Polish and Russian, baba is also a pejorative synonym for woman, in particular one who is old, dirty, or foolish. Yaga has no settled meaning, and never has. Alexander Afanasyev in 1867 proposed Proto-Slavic oje and Sanskrit ahi, serpent. Other scholars reached for Old Czech jeza, witch, and Old English inca, doubt or worry. Brian Cooper wrote a short note on the name in 1997 and noted the same uncertainty persists. The word may not have been a name at all. It may have been a title for the guardian of a threshold, a job description for whoever sat at the edge of the forest. Then the question is not whether Baba Yaga is one figure or 3 sisters. It is what kind of word Yaga was when a mother first said it to a child in a Slavic household about 1,000 years ago. Was it a proper name? Was it a common noun? The frame changes. Vladimir Propp read it as the first option. Propp wrote The Morphology of the Folktale in 1928, working at the Soviet Academy of Sciences through the years when scholars were not always allowed to work on fairy tales. He worked out that Baba Yaga appears across tales in several different functional roles, what he called the dramatis personae of the folktale. She is sometimes the donor, the figure who tests the hero and gives him a magical object. She is sometimes the villain who blocks the path. She is sometimes the dispatcher who sends the hero on the quest. Propp argued these are not aspects of one character. They are different characters who got conflated over centuries of oral telling. The Slavic storyteller used the same name for whoever stood at the edge of the forest, and over time the names slid together. Propp wrote specifically that depictions of Baba Yaga taken from various fairy tales do not create a coherent image. That should not be possible. Afanasyev indexed her once. The function did the rest. Andreas Johns read it as the second option. Johns published the scholarly study of Baba Yaga in 2004, a book that has since become the standard scholarly reference on the figure. He characterized her as a many-faceted figure, capable of inspiring researchers to see her as a cloud, a moon, a death, a winter, a snake, a bird, a pelican, an earth goddess, a totemic matriarchal ancestress, a female initiator, a phallic mother, or an archetypal image. Johns argued the ambiguity is the figure itself, not a flaw in the tradition. Baba Yaga holds both functions because both functions are needed for the story to do its work. The same character who gives the fire in Vasilisa the Beautiful is the same character who whets her teeth in the Ivan tale. He described her in his 1998 article as enigmatic and as exhibiting striking ambiguity. The contradiction is the thing kept. There is a third reading. It is less argued than the other 2, and it sits closer to the ground. Baba Yaga lives in the forest. The forest is the boundary between the village and the world the village does not control. Someone who lives at that boundary has to do 2 jobs at once. She has to be dangerous enough that you do not walk into it unprepared. She has to be useful enough that the prepared traveler can come back out. The third Yaga in the Ivan tale tries to eat him. The first two redirect him to the third and tell him the trick of the three horns. Both readings of the figure are describing the same work. The Slavic tradition kept the figure because the figure was a role and the role itself needed the contradiction built in. Whoever sat at the boundary had to be two things. The role needed both. No reading covers everything. Propp's reading explains why the names slid together over centuries, but not why the slid-together name still gives Vasilisa the fire she needs to bring home. Johns explains why the figure holds both functions, but not why Afanasiev could index her as one character and then list three sisters of the same name in the same volume of the same collection. The boundary reading explains the work, but not the figure itself. The residue is the structural fact. The tradition kept one name for both the giver and the taker, and the keeping was not an accident. Either it did not mind contradiction, or contradiction is what the name was for. You have read this passage before. Whoever walked out of a Slavic forest at the end of a story had met one thing on the way in and another on the way out. That question still walks.